your background, can you just go through that briefly for everybody?
Okay, very, very briefly, I went normal schooling, went to uni, and from uni I applied for a position in Sydney with a company. They didn't have a role. They referred me to their Brisbane office. I got a job in Brisbane with them. For the simple, and back in the day, was because I had a degree, and back then it meant something, about 30 years ago. So I had a degree, I got a job, and that's purely the reason I got it. And I was with them for about 6 months, got bored with it. I then went to become a sales rep with them, the same company. So I was travelling in Western Queensland for about 15 months. From there I went and joined the Yellow Pages organisation, which for many of you in the room, you won't know what that is. There used to be telephone books, and we sold advertising in them. And from there, so that was a really terrific experience over probably about 7 or 8 years. And then from there, I went into a training business in Melbourne. So we were living in Melbourne by that stage, and basically we started the Melbourne branch of a Sydney company, and then built that to where we had about 28 staff, whatever, over about 10 or 12 years, and then really left that to come back to Queensland, and then back in Queensland really fell into our business as it is now in many respects, and it's just been full steam ahead from that point.
So I think at many angles, James is typical of some of the quality of the background of people that you get to attract into the hub and resonate with the messages. And I find that they have a different way or different attitude towards work and an attitude towards getting ahead, I guess. And one of the things I was asking James on the phone about his attitude is a really interesting response. But your experiences and reflecting attitude now, what would say attitude now be towards getting result with network building, and how does your past, I guess, helped you with that attitude now?
I'm very focused on network building. I really believe that my attitude is very much every new person I meet is possibly a door to an opportunity, something of the future. Is very much my attitude. In the past, maybe because people go through phases, and I mean, there was a phase in my life where I remember saying to my wife that I'd be very comfortable in this company for the rest of my career. Something happened, and the rug was pulled out from beneath us, which was a real surprise to both of us, and consequently, life moved on. But that's what happens with people. Yeah.
So, are you finding with the conversations you're having, like that corporate background, people on the rug pulled out from underneath them, are you finding that's situation normal now, or are things changed, things different? You're dealing with corporates, by the way, and you're dealing with people who they're now going to hide behind their business card, right? When they meet you on a Monday night, so you can see behind, I guess, the business card. Are you finding the attitudes or their experiences similar to yours now?
Yeah, I've found very few people who are who I would expect would say to me, "Look, this is my career, and I'm going to be in this company for the rest of my life." Yep. I don't think that just doesn't happen these days. My particular situation was we were very, very comfortable in situation. We were doing great things, but we also had an owner of the business that we were working in, because that's the thing, you don't control what they're doing and the way they're thinking. And the owner of the business was a disruptive person, and he decided to disrupt his own business, and that actually caused all sorts of issues right across the board. And that business is not around anymore, as it turns out. But I've found my experience is that I haven't come across anybody who could say they're going to be that's their career and they're going to be in that for the rest of their life. That's it. Everybody seems to be in this this gig I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing something else. In fact, today, if you don't mind me just going down a rabbit trail for a moment, I was working on a proposal today with a company. They rang me up on Monday, went and saw them Tuesday, and we did some work. We did a rollout for one of the government departments last year, and this fellow, I didn't know, he was in the background, he was actually doing the IT side of it, we're doing the training side of it, and he got our name from them, he knew about it. So he gave me a call, he said, we're doing a rollout for another company, would you want to be involved, etc., etc. So it's actually through people. Now, he's a project manager and does some pretty major projects, but even for him, it's gig to gig to gig to gig.
Yes.
He has what I think is a full-time role. It seems to be a full-time role with an IT company, but it is from gig to gig to gig, and that's the norm. Yep.
I believe it's a good filtering process. If people don't have a side gig, I'm really concerned. You know what I mean? Like if you're leaving the success, so they look at you in the eyes and they say they want to get ahead. And then you say, well, what's okay, cool, so what does that mean to you? What are you doing about it? And it's like, well, I get to work at 9, or 8:30, I leave at 5, and I work really hard during those hours. It's like I'm really concerned, because it's never going to happen, right? So I find people like the side gig mentality it's not exclusive to this, but to have somebody with a side gig tells me a lot more about that person than those without one. You know what I mean? A lot more of the right stuff in that. So and if you haven't read that book, End of Jobs, it's Taylor Pearson. It's I referenced that to at the Hub. Absolutely outstanding. I was curious to get from you, because I think your perspective, knowing your background, your profession, and the places that you've worked and the service that you provide now, you would have seen a lot of training content, right? And hearing, from one of your guys today, like the areas that are covered and the stuff that's created, and is like, I don't know if there's a topic under the sun you may not have seen or dealt with, but yet you're telling me that you've learned stuff here and have also have applied it as well. Are there things that, how does what you're doing here at the Connect Collaboratives, how does that translate into business results for you as well?
Yeah. I think that's the main thing, is that when the Connect Collaborative, what we're seeing on a Monday night and in these types of forums as well, is we're hearing it in terms of the way it works for business, how you can apply it yourself, and that's one of the big things that I've really picked up in the time that I've been involved, is that we do training. All of the things which we talk about here, we actually run those in different training courses as topics. There might be a subtopic or an element or whatever it is in any of those.
Didn't you do how to network internally?
We did a program how to network within your organisation, right? Which is really all of the elements of team building, and communication, and you name it. It's really all of those. So all of the things which we've done, and all of the things we do in our training. Yes, you can apply those for business the same way that we're applying here, but the things that really, I wrote a couple of notes that really stood out for me. Number one, setting priorities. I mean, it's just, we talk about, find your why. What is it that you want to achieve? And really, at the end of the day, isn't that what we're doing? Setting our priorities? Yeah. And we're doing it we're setting the goals. We're setting, I like Sam's talk a little while ago. She gave a talk in terms of, you set little goals. It's just a small goal, a small goal, a small goal, a small goal, and it leads on to a bigger goal. So I mean that's one thing, but that's what we're doing in business anyway. When you think about it, KPIs that we're setting for our sales KPIs, or how many calls do I have to make a day, because we all know that, and take what we're doing with LinkedIn. If I invite to connect 100 people, around about 50 to 60 of those will connect to me, right? The daily habit, and just pick on the various points. The daily habit of handling those thanks for connectings every day will result in maybe maybe 10 people coming back to me. Of those 10 people, maybe 3 or 4 of them will say they'll come to the hub, and for every 3 who says they'll come to the hub, 1 turns up.
You just remind me of something with the message of daily habit. I know you're not bored, lonely, looking for things to do. Gosh, haven't got to spend all the spare time that I have. You're like, it's whilst you seem to be travelling every second month, by the way, which I'm very grateful to have for you.
There's a story behind that.
You still are consistently putting in new habits, and I'd like to know from you, someone who's is busy, and whilst I get we will probably hate that word because it's overused and used incorrectly, but whilst your schedule is full and deliberate, you're still getting stuff done. You've turned it into a habit. You've even whilst you're away, I know Sam and I were meeting up with your contacts while you were off, I don't know what you're doing, surfing or something, and we're meeting up with your contacts, so 3 or 4 weeks later you come back and you met half a dozen or whatever it was, more new people. You're going, oh great, hi. A network in a box already made. But it's happens because you got this set as a habit. So my question is around, I want to find out from you about how you treat the daily habits piece, how you fit it in, and also is that an enhancement to or a distraction from keeping the wheels turning for CTS training? Because I think that's a big concern for people, and a fear that they think this is a separate task to what their day-to-day is, right? Building a network. And I know you're well equipped to sort of handle that.
For me, it's up in the morning, whatever, close to, before I really start anything of a morning, breakfast or anything like that. Now, I'm probably a little bit different than most because I do generally try and work from home during a day. But essentially, I just set my computer going. And it just, that takes, 3 or 4 minutes, turn it on, set it going, and then I disappear. I go walking or I go and have breakfast, for linked helper. Mm-hmm. So that's easy. When I come back, it's done. Mm-hmm. And it's not hard to do. There are times when I'm not getting the result that I want to get, so I just run a second lot in the day. But it's just happening in the background, it doesn't really matter. It's not affecting me. The only thing it's doing is having more people connect to me during the day, that afternoon or that evening, in which case then I do my thanks for connectings usually at night. So I do them after dinner or whatever at night. So for me it's probably 1 minute maximum per thanks for connecting. Generally it's around about 30 seconds each one, but then it's a fairly, let's face it, it's a fairly generic, it is a generic message that goes out asking people to connect, and it's not non-controversial, it's just a message. Very few people actually get that sort of message, so they think, wow, fantastic. The thanks for connecting, again, very few people get a message like thanks for connecting. And those people who, and I get a lot of people who connect to me without me actually sending a thanks for connecting. So I get probably 5 of those a day. So to me it's exactly the same message, it doesn't really matter. So having done those, and then it's really just a matter of dealing with the 3 or 4, sometimes 5 people who have sent you a note, and so you need to actually, say something to that. But again, I've got a fairly general. I've got maybe 5 messages that I pick and choose. Which one will I send today? A, B, C, or D, and then I might personalise it very slightly. So it's not that hard.
So how does that help the wheels of CTS training? Like, is one goal directly related to another, or are these completely in isolation and the 2 worlds shall never combine?
No, my view is that because at the end of the day, the people I'm connecting to, a lot of them are in corporate, and look, at the very, very, very least, what it's doing is actually raising our profile. Even if there's nothing else to it, at the very, very least it's raising our profile. But when I do meet people on a Monday night and get to know them, well then they're getting to know me. I like Matt's comment earlier about the actual business that he's actually done is generally not through the room. Now I have done some business through the room, but I've done other business which has come through other people from the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not directly through the room.
Yeah.
In that sense. Yes.
Yes. So just in as we start to wrap this up, your example of being able to consistently bring people, you're dealing with large numbers of people. The skill sets that you're learning, a lot of our conversations around the skill sets that you've learned here and you're applying corporately, and you're sort of speaking very well of how one's helped feed the other, and you're taking stuff you're learning here, putting it into the corporate world, like you're talking about, from communication styles, you're talking to the way things are collaborating, the way you're structuring your business and so forth. Have you got a couple of examples, I guess, of how that's worked with clients of yours and how it's come because of what you've learned through the Connect Collaborative?
I guess in terms of what I've learned, if I go through a few points I wrote down, and I'll just talk, I'll be broader than what's that. First of all, having a look at the various skills and the various topics that we cover here, seeing priorities. I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's really very much what this room tends to focus people on. Set a goal, set your priorities, and we say it every week. We hear it all the time, but it actually needs being said all the time. Setting priorities. We all set a priority to be here tonight, for one. So that's. I personally set a priority with my family that Mondays and Wednesdays are not negotiable.
Yeah, come on.
Full stop. So, yeah. There's a lot of personal growth and mindset. One of the things that I think has been really valuable is about understanding yourself. And there's a great book. I've recommended it to a few people, and I've loaned it and borrowed it out. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception.
Oh, yes.
An absolutely brilliant little book.
Yeah.
Very much.
Arbinger Institute?
Yeah, the Arbinger Institute, which is very much about everything begins with you. It doesn't matter. Think of anything that might have gone wrong today, and reflect back on in terms of it's about you. There's so much you could have done to actually change that, but you just didn't think of it at the time, or whatever. But be aware for next time. So knowing yourself and the strengths and weaknesses is probably one of the greatest things that I've got out of this room and out of the group. And of course, when you're working with people to help them build their network, that really reinforces that, because I've heard it said many times, it's like herding cats. as we all know, when you're working with people and you expect, people have said for 3 weeks in a row, well, I'm coming along on Monday, where are you? or whatever the case may be. So, like Matt said before, it's that 95%. It's that resilience to get over that resilience. So again, resilience is a course we do. Wow, I'm doing it with the Connect Collaborative. Goal setting, leverage is a huge thing. Never before would I have thought of using meetings. It's not just Monday night. Any meeting that I'm going to invite people along, because it's going to have value to other people.
Yes.
I was talking to, I guess, just as a thought. One of Sam's invites on Monday came along. She hasn't been for a month or two, and she came along and she was talking to me about LinkedIn. I was just talking to her about, it's easy. We use LinkedIn, and you can do searching on LinkedIn and whatever else. And how many times do people actually, when you're talking to them, it's like they get it. They tell you they get it. And they don't get it. They have not. They just don't know. And it was only when I raised with her, because she's actually related to training as well, and that's why she wanted to talk to me. And I asked her about how she uses LinkedIn. She does searches on training. I thought, great. And I said to her, well, when I do my searches, I do searches on driven. Would be one word I use.
Yeah.
Driven, I use searches on passionate, on results, or whatever. A number of words. And I said to her, it doesn't worry me if I connect to an electrician or a truck driver or a CEO or an accountant, God forbid accountants, or whoever. Because at the very, very, very least, what I can do is add value to them, and it's not them necessarily who I'm going to do anything with. It's the people behind them, the 100 people behind them. Yes. So it doesn't matter what industry they're in, it's actually the people behind them who I want to get to know. A good example that something that, if you don't mind me, just a comment. Can you imagine our dishwasher's broken down? I must talk to Brendan about that.
Well, moving into dishwasher.
Didn't you have a dishwasher that broke down and almost burnt the house down? Ours hasn't burnt the house down yet. But our dishwasher broke. So if I get the dishwasher guy to come in and he fixes the dishwasher and everything, it does a great job. And then, can you imagine, he's saying to me at the end of it, he says, hey James, look, you really like the job, can you give me the names of 12 people that you know who also have a dishwasher? Yeah. And I'm going to be saying, no, why would I do that? Yeah. Why would I put my reputation on the line to a guy that I really don't know? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, isn't that what we're doing on a Monday night? Mm-hmm. We're actually meeting people who we don't know, but we're actually getting to know them. Mm. Because if I did know that dishwasher guy, I'd be only too happy to recommend all of you, and I'd be happy to do that. But if I don't know him, there's no way I'm going to give him names or anything. And isn't that the point that we've all come across over a long period of time? You hit your head against a brick wall over and over and over again, and we don't recommend people, they don't recommend people to us because we don't know them. So that's actually a key thing which I've really got out of the room. Collaboration. We collaborate with a few companies that we previously hadn't really even thought of doing, but we're collaborating with them and we're giving them referrals and referral fees and things like that. And they're working with us in that respect as well. So that's something that we probably wouldn't have done in the past.
That's great. We might wrap it up there with James. I think the not just the example that James has, but if you're listening carefully between the lines as well, there are plenty of people within not just this room, but also those that also come to these workshops that aren't here this evening. Plus more people that are going through the process through Monday nights that are high achievers, that have full schedules, who maybe have a broad experience and have seen it all as well, and getting from James about fitting this in as a priority, how one can feed the other, and even someone from a training perspective that has seen everything and trained everything. There's still a amount of stuff that's unknown that he's taken from the room. And it's not that the Connect Collaborative is a genius, it's that we collectively are brilliant. And so there's so much to offer people, and I think we're all convinced that we're doing a good thing by engaging with them and giving them a shot, giving them a chance.